Happy Friday and welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. This update is for the week of November 4th, 2024. This will be the last Big Tech Gut Check for November. Sorry about that. I will be heading to DC next week for an extended trip, and then it's Thanksgiving, so I will resume these episodes in December. While I'm in DC, I will be heading over to the DEA headquarters to learn about illicit drugs and how they're being sold to our children on social media. I will be attending the Washington Post Global Women's Summit and an event called the Summit on the Future of the Internet, hosted by Project Liberty. Project Liberty is founded by American billionaire Frank McCourt, who is putting together a people's bid to buy TikTok. This is a very interesting project, and you can learn more about that in my interview with Frank from a couple months ago. But you can follow along on these travels, get an inside look into these events over on my Instagram at Scrolling to Death. Let's get into the updates. We're going to start with the topic of pornography, something that we don't want to talk to our kids about, but we need to. And here's why. It won't be surprising to hear that the type of pornography that children and teens are accessing has changed. No longer are we talking about kids seeing a naked lady in a Playboy magazine. Instead, we have to worry about our children seeing porn that is violent to women, that includes incest or minors. Things that are not only harmful, but are illegal and openly rampant on porn sites, but also on social media, on gaming platforms, or just available through a Google search on any device, including their school-issued one. So what do we do as parents? We need to talk to our kids and talk to them early. If your child is 11 or 12, it's probably too late, because the average age of porn exposure is 10. So how do we talk to our kids at 7 or 8 about pornography? Well, thankfully, there's a book. It's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures by Kristen Jensen of Defend Young Minds, and it's really great. I will link to that book in the episode notes and also to my interview with Kristen. Another tip around this is just to delay our kids' access to devices that have access to pornography for as long as possible. A study that was shared with me by the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, NCOSE, shows that early exposure to pornography leads to greater likelihood of later use of bestiality and child sexual abuse material. There's not a foolproof method for delaying, but it starts with no tablets and no smartphones for as long as possible, especially Apple products. iPhones and iPads are the most difficult for parents to lock down. So delay access to these harmful devices and also have conversations. So if your child sees pornography, they will open up to you about it. And you cannot get mad at them. A calm response will yield trust and help them open up about things like this in the future. For lots more information on this topic, my most recent conversation is with Parker Hymas of Fight the New Drug. That episode is called Talking to Kids About Pornography and is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen. Next up, we're going to talk about AI chatbots. You probably heard from me or someone else about Sewell Setzer III, who died by suicide earlier this year after falling in love with an AI chatbot on an app called Character AI. In my conversation with Sewell's mom, Megan, you can hear how the chatbot actually encouraged Sewell to die. This is truly one of the most shocking things you will hear. But chatbots are rolling out on almost all the platforms that you access and your children are accessing. Snapchat, Meta's platforms, Instagram. AI is being integrated into schools. And regulation of these AI platforms is super behind. And newly elected, soon to be president again, Trump, he believes that AI should only be lightly regulated. This will undo some of the progress that has been made to combat AI-generated sexual abuse material and regulation of this type of technology. So this today is just a reminder to talk to your kids about AI. It's really important that if your child is accessing AI-based platforms, he or she does it with you so that you can guide them through it and avoid harmful interactions. Also really important to talk to your kids about the fact that AI chatbots are not real human beings. You can learn more about that in my recent interview with Laurie Segall about AI. You can also learn about AI in my interview with Tim Estes of Angel Kids AI. I will link to those in the episode notes. Let's end today's updates with a quick world tour. Other countries are doing big things related to social media safety, and I think we should all be taking note. In Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has proposed laws to ban children under 16 from social media entirely. This is because of the harm that social media inflicts on Australian children. The Prime Minister stated, quote, "This is one for the mums and dads. They, like me, are worried sick about the safety of our kids online. I want Australian families to know that the government has your back." I love this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the social media companies will begin to truly verify ages. If we can verify a child's age when they sign up, we can start with getting the millions of children under 13 off of these harmful platforms. However, they do it, we need to start verifying that people are the right age to be on social media and that they are real human beings. If we got all the bots and duplicate accounts off of social media, it would be a much safer place. To quote an article from The Hill this week, true verification is the only viable way for a social media platform to avoid the onslaught of bots, trolls, and manipulative human forces hiding behind the curtain of anonymity. It's the only way to protect kids. Now on to Canada. So TikTok has offices in Canada. The Canadian government has been assessing the risks to national security from foreign companies like TikTok, who is owned by Chinese company ByteDance. The Canadian government collected the evidence and decided that they don't want TikTok to be doing business in Canada. TikTok must dissolve their offices in Canada. But what is the interesting thing here is that Canadians can still use TikTok despite these national security risks. It feels like Canada should have taken this additional step like we did here in the US. In the US, we passed the National Security Act in April of 2024, which says that TikTok must be sold or we will ban it from our app stores. TikTok has sued us to try to overturn this law, and that lawsuit is still ongoing. But let's head over to South Korea. A privacy watchdog group in South Korea has fined Meta $15 million for illegally collecting sensitive personal information, including information on their religion, political views, and whether they are in same-sex unions. Facebook then shared this information with thousands of advertisers. South Korea's privacy law provides strict protection for this type of information being shared without the person's consent. I want to make it clear that this type of data trafficking is not just happening in South Korea, it's happening everywhere. Here in the US, Meta illegally collected data on children under 13. TikTok was illegally collecting children's data and is being sued by the FTC. Even ed tech companies, educational technology companies like PowerSchool, are trafficking our children's data. A lawsuit has been filed against an ed tech company called PowerSchool, alleging that they have illegally collected and sold the data of 60 million students and teachers without parents' consent. And why do we care about data? Because our data, our kids' data, is literally everything. It's like gold in today's society. And by sharing it on social media or just agreeing to give away our data by using any app on our phone, we're giving away the most valuable currency that we have and getting nothing in return. The companies we're giving it to aren't even following the laws our governments are trying to uphold to protect us. I got into this topic in detail about the value of our data with Frank McCourt, who I mentioned earlier. His group Project Liberty is putting together a bid to buy TikTok. I really recommend listening to that conversation. It is fascinating. And if you have any questions about data specifically or for Frank McCourt or Project Liberty, please let me know, as I will be with them in person in DC soon. That is it for this week on the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. Thank you so much for listening and for prioritizing the safety of your children online. I will be back in touch with these updates in December.